The 2016 race for the White House revving up this week as two more GOP hopefuls tossed their hats into the ring. More to come. The brutal attack in Charleston, though, shifted the political debate from issues overseas to matters here at home. Rick Perry was on Fox News Sunday weighing in on a lot of things, including why Rick Perry version 2.0 will be better than Rick Perry version 1.0. Here for a fair and balanced debate, Ford O'Connell, chairman of Civic Forum PAC and former presidential campaign advisor, and radio show host Garland Nixon. There's a number of guys in the race right now who it's their second time around. Ford, do you think they have an advantage having been to the rodeo before, or is it the case, is that old song would go, I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then?
Well, obviously, look, the second time around usually makes you better. Herein lies the problem. Most people are looking for something fresh and new, and for Rick Perry, it's going to be very hard to make a second impression, or a first impression the second time around. I mean, it's really that tough for him because once he blew sort of the oops moment, it was oops and goodbye for Perry because he was the only one in 2012 who could have knocked out Romney, and this time around he's fighting for oxygen and turf in the field. Well,
we'll see if he can remember all the things he wants to do and groups he wants to eliminate this time around. One thing that struck me that that Rick Perry was quoted in Breitbart saying, he said, speaking about Jeb Bush's record, it was blue skies and smooth sailing essentially during Jeb's time for his record on job creation. And it struck me as kind of an interesting moment that for the first time now we're seeing the Republican field start to violate the 1966 11th commandment issued by Ronald Reagan, thou shalt not speak ill of any fellow Republicans. Is this good for Democrats that you got this big Republican field who's now starting to beat themselves up?
Well, to me, it's only good for Democrats if the attacks come from kind of the left, if they attack them on issues that will benefit the Democrats. Traditionally, when you look at the primary campaign, the Republicans always attack their opponents from the right, the Democrats always attack themselves from the left. So it can be good for the Democrat, but you have to parse out the individual issue.
It depends whether or not they're actually going to hit below the belt. Look, there's one thing to throw elbows like we're seeing right now between the governors and the senators. It's a whole other thing to pull the Newt Gingrich vulture capitalism, so I give you a whole bunch of material when the actual voters are watching. And that's the problem, is how far do you go?
Are the voters watching yet, you think?
Yeah, I think they are. Well, I'll put it like this. They'll watch if there's something significant to watch, and he made a good point, because that vulture capitalism attack was an attack from the left. It was an attack that a Democrat would make. So yes, they're watching and hoping that there'll be those kind of attacks.
Well, herein lies the other problem. In this crowded field, without naming names, we have 4 to 5 who could potentially win the nomination, okay, and could potentially take on Hillary Clinton and do very well. The question is how damaged do they become in this sort of fighting for oxygen, trying to get on the Fox News debate stage? We don't know how far they're going to go, but if past is any sort of indicator, they're going to start throwing some really rough elbows.
What kind of elbows can they throw without hurting themselves come the general election, without giving Democrats ammunition?
Well, I think it's going to be tough because there's significant issues. You've got the issue of foreign policy, and Rand Paul, who is very, is kind of very out of sorts when it comes to the mainstream of the Republican Party in many ways. So I don't see when it gets to a significant argument how they can differentiate themselves without at least doing some damage, which is the problem with having so many candidates.
My biggest concern really right now is unmarried women and minorities, okay, because that's the bread and butter of the Democratic Party, okay? Our question is no, we're not going to bring them in the primary. We're not going to get them to go, gee, I'm with the Republicans, but we have to make sure that we don't alienate them. And that's the fodder that Hillary Clinton's going to try to use to win the presidency in 2016.
Are there attacks that have been made so far you think that Democrats can use to drive a wedge between unmarried women, minorities, and whatever Republican candidates there are?
I don't think so, because I think what the Democrats are waiting to see, one of the important issues that came up last time and will come around this year is the issue of immigration. And I think Democrats are really waiting to see how that's going to parse out with the Republican candidates.
You think are there enough Republican candidates who are going to be able to stand firm, or is there going to be such pressure come places like Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina, where you have very conservative Republicans, the SEC primary, that's going to force a number of what you might call moderate Republicans on immigration to take a tougher line?
It honestly depends whether you're a front runner or you're a second-tier candidate. The second-tier candidates are fighting for oxygen and turf. They want to get on the debate stage. They want to be seen as a front runner so they can raise money. The deal is that if you're a front runner, you're a Scott Walker, you're a Rubio, you're a Jeb Bush, you want to try to hold your ground as much as possible and not be the first one to stick your neck out on a rough issue.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Garland Nixon, Ford O'Connell, appreciate your guys' insights as well. Thank you.